Hi, I'm Irene with Girl Talks Fish, and if you're like me, you probably started the hobby by getting a betta fish or guppies at Petco or some other big name pet store, and eventually you were thinking, I think I might like to try something a little different. Welcome to the realm of local fish stores. The only problem is that Petco tends to sell like easy, hardy fish versus your local fish store offers everything. And so for at least me, back when I was a newbie, it was kind of hard for me to tell the difference between a beginner friendly versus advanced level fish. Like I remember my friend one time came home with a black ghost knife fish and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And I don't think either of us realized how big they get or what kind of special care requirements they have. So today we are going to talk about 10 beginner fish you can get from your local fish store and whether or not they're actually that easy to take care of. The first beginner aquarium fish that I got at a local fish store would be Furcata rainbow fish or fork-tail blue-eyed rainbow fish. And I was just so attracted by their little waving yellow pom-poms, that bright blue eye, definitely kind of a very fast swimmer that swims on the upper half of the aquarium. I actually kept them with a betta fish in my community tank, and I wouldn't say they outcompeted him for food necessarily. The thing I didn't know is they do have relatively shorter lifespans compared to other aquarium fish, so maybe as a more intermediate fish keeper, I would have considered breeding them to continue on the line because they're really, really fun fish. Number 2 on the list would be the green neon tetra. They're not found in pet stores like the normal neon tetra because I guess they're a little less popular, they're smaller, they don't have as much red on them, but I give them 5 out of 5 for appearance. Like that iridescent, brilliant turquoise blue stripe on their bodies is stunning. Like you can see them from across the room, even if the aquarium light is off. I love them. I would say that they are a little bit shyer in personality, so you might want to put them in a densely planted or decorated aquarium, but you know, go ahead and plop yourself in front of the tank, sit there a little while so they can get used to you, and then they will come out and you'll be able to fully enjoy their beauty. If you want more tips about them, go ahead and see the full care guide over here. The first centerpiece fish I ever got from a local fish store would be the peacock gudgeon. It's got a kaleidoscope of rainbow colors on it, but I don't know, to me, it's not as saturated in its coloration compared to like guppies and platies that seem to stand out more. I know some people say that they're kind of feisty, especially when they're breeding and kind of defending their territory, but I only had one and she was super sweet. So I would say they're really easy to take care of, especially for an oddball fish. So try them if you can. Now I had to try celestial pearl danios because all these aquascapers were going on and on about how they're amazing fish for their aquascapes because they look like these miniature brook trout with their bright red fins and the beautiful golden pearls on their body. Very beautiful fish. A lot of times they get the reputation for being shy, but mine weren't that shy at all actually. In fact, I constantly found them chasing each other around, and sometimes they would fin nip each other, which was kind of stressful for me. But again, in the right tank, if you don't have any tank bullies that are, you know, chasing them around or bullying them, and you put them in a beautiful planted tank, I think they'll do really well for you. I got coolie loaches around the same time as my celestial pearl danias because I was trying to set up the shy guys tank with only shy fish, and honestly I wish I'd gotten them sooner because they're probably my favorite beginner fish on this list. Like they're amazing looking oddball fish. They kind of look like tiny eels or snakes with zebra bands or stripes on them, and they're extremely hardy. My friend Master Breeder Dean, he has this story where he kind of partially took down a tank and he had about an inch of water in there and he didn't realize one coolie loach was there, didn't feed the tank at all. A year later, he actually goes to finish cleaning up that tank and the coolie loach was still alive. So quite bulletproof. They're a bottom dweller, great cleanup crew. I can't say enough good things about them. Another really cool oddball, can you tell I like oddball fish, is the hill stream loach. I love the look of this tiny stingray that's shuffling around on your glass. They're so cool. And I was originally afraid to keep them because everybody on the internet said, oh, you have to keep them in a high flow river-like aquarium. But then Corey from Aquarium Co-op said that you could keep them in normal community tanks. So I tried it, took a risk, and they worked out. So one of my favorite algae eaters for sure. They're very enthusiastic about attacking all kinds of algae, and they're just so cool. Sometimes the males will like spar each other, but they don't really hurt each other. They just kind of shuffle around each other. And if it bothers you, do what I did. I just added more aquarium plants and then they stopped chasing each other. Okay, just one more loach, I promise. It is a little more expensive than the other ones, the dwarf chain loach, but they eat small snails, which is amazing if you have a pest snail problem. I like them because, you know, their name, as it mentions the dwarf chain loach, they have this like chain-like pattern on their bodies, and even though they're supposedly bottom dwellers, I would notice them like kind of flopping their wings like miniature dolphins kind of swimming around the mid-water, which is really cool. I like how they form these social hierarchies, and you'll see them kind of chasing each other around, like follow the leader style. And they, even though they're very, very fast, I wouldn't say they're the most aggressive eaters though, because I definitely kept them in a community tank with a betta fish, and he was able to like guard the food, even though he was super old and grumpy, and then they would wait their turn after he had had his fill. So if you have a bit of a budget, definitely check him out. I haven't talked about this fish a lot, but at one point I did own a trio of Apistogramma agassizii. They were supposed to go in my 10-gallon breeding project tank, and that failed because they kept eating their eggs. So they do like really warm water, and I didn't really like the chasing because kind of a pair of them would form and then they would bully around the other one, so that kind of stressed me out. But very beautiful, very easy to feed, and when I ended up removing that extra female and putting her in the community tank, she was pretty peaceful and got along with everyone. So yeah, try out Apistogrammas, very beautiful. Now, dwarf platies are on my list of beginner fish for local fish stores because I've seen a lot of varieties of regular platies at Petco and PetSmart, but I've never seen like the teacup variety. So I really like them because they have all the same care requirements, very, very hardy, but a much smaller size, which means you can keep them in smaller aquariums. Of course, like all live bearers, they breed like crazy. They're gonna reproduce for you. And I particularly like the dwarf red coral platies I got because that bright red against the green plants really complemented each other. They're good at eating algae, which I had no idea they could do. Again, can't say enough good things about them. They are probably one of my favorite live bearers right now, but many more to try in the future for sure. I know I just did a care guide on these, and they're probably not going to attract a lot of beginners because they look pretty washed out and pale when you find them at the fish store, but I wanted to mention chili respors because I personally have found them very, very easy to care for as long as you give them tiny foods. And then you wait about 3 or 4 weeks, they basically color up and turn this super red, very deep coloration with black markings on it. Definitely want to recommend it if you have a nano tank to keep in your office or on your dorm desk or in a bedroom. This would be a good, very tiny fish to keep. So don't be like me where I was kind of really scared to go into my first local fish store because I know there's a lot of selection and crazy things to see there, but the employees are there to help you. Just make sure you ask the right questions because I had a rough time with my first batch of pygmy Corydoras because I didn't consult the employees. So if you want to hear about that story, I've got a whole list of the official must-ask questions when you go into an LFS. Take time to enjoy your aquariums, and I'll see you in the next video.